a new face at quarterback,
a new team at the link,
and 2 new voices on the desk for OwlSports Update.
I'm Sarah Winton, live at the Temple Sports Complex. In soccer, if you're only as good as your goalie, it's no wonder the women's team is trending in the right direction.
I'm Anthony Rossioli. Later in the show, I'll be talking about Temple volleyball and a veteran face starting off in a new role. OwlSports Update is live and starts right now.
Hello all and welcome to this edition of OwlSports Update. It's a new anchor team on the desk this fall.
She is Julia Green and I am Michael Mirville. We have a jam-packed show for you today. Some hoop talk with the non-conference schedule out. The women's soccer team grabs another clean sheet, but we're going to start off with the Owls on the gridiron. It took 3 games, but the Temple football team finally made its way to the link for its own opener. The Owls took on Coastal Carolina for the first time at home. Owls quarterback Evan Simon took over for Forrest Brock, who was out with a wrist injury. This is the first ever meeting between these 2 programs. The Owls come into Lincoln Financial Field in hopes of the upset in the home opener. Temple down early when Evan Simon's pass is picked off for a 29-yard pick 6. The Owls now down by 14 in the first quarter. In the red zone, Coastal runs a play action and the pass is caught up the middle by Cameron Wright to put the Chanticleers up 21-3. In the end of the first half, the Owls battle back to get themselves back into the game, including a 15-yard touchdown pass to John Adams. The Owls are climbing back into this one. Temple gets a clean stop and then Dante Wright shakes and bakes 2 defenders for a 24 yards and a first down. He is awarded for that play when the ball gets in his hands again for the touchdown, and the Owls are now only down by 4 in the third quarter. The pressure is on Coastal Carolina when the Chanticleers quarterback Ethan Basco runs up the middle for an 18-yard play and the first down as the visitors run out the clock. Your final, Coastal Carolina 28, Temple 20.
There's a lot of variables that go into losing focus. It can be, miscommunication. It can be, you're on the edge and you feel like the clock's against you and you got to find a way to win, and then you step outside your job description and do something that you're not supposed to do, trying to make a play. And we have very competitive football players. That's kind of been the common denominator, is they see things kind of not going their way. It's not like they're flinching, but they're trying to make a play. And sometimes they step outside their job description. Well, that's losing focus, and we've had a lot of examples that we should be learning from at this point, that when we do that, things don't necessarily go our way.
As the Owls continue to struggle this season, we invite Inside the Nest beat reporter Jackson Batchelor to discuss this season so far. Jackson, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. All right, Jackson. Well, to start off, obviously we don't have any updates on Forrest Brock's wrist injury and whether or not he will play against Utah State. Last week, in his place, Evan Simon scored 2 touchdowns and threw for 185 passing yards. If both quarterbacks are available, who do you think Coach Drayton should start against Utah State?
Well, guys, to be honest, I think Coach Drayton's going to give Forrest Brock the start, but honestly, I think Evan Simon should be the single caller from this point on. It might have been a small sample size with just the 1 game, but Simon, with the offense, it just looks significantly better than it did the first 2 games. He also just seemed more poised in the pocket. He was making better decisions than Brock was in his first 2 games. And while Simon did throw the pick on Saturday, the Coastal Carolina defender did make a great play.
It was a close-fought match against Coastal Carolina with the Owls falling by 8. Despite the loss, what improvements did you see on the field?
Well, honestly, I saw vast improvements on both sides of the ball. The offense was able to develop consistent drives, resulting in points on the board, and the defense was able to get some critical stops on 3rd down. And it was evident the Owls were playing with confidence. Even though Simon had a solid debut, the running game was also great, as Antoine Littleton had 74 yards rushing, combined with a big 31-yard run in the first half to set up the offense. And Dante Wright's been very reliable. 9 catches for 99 yards, just setting himself up as a reliable target for Brock and Simon.
Well, obviously, it's Utah State coming this weekend. Overall, the Owls are giving up 233 rushing yards per game. Do you see this as a concern this Saturday against the Aggies?
Absolutely, Mike. I do think that it's concerning, as the Owls did play a good enough game defensively on Saturday to be able to get the win, but there were points where they were just not able to tackle Coastal Carolina quarterback Ethan Vasco. Although Vasco is a shifty, dual-threat quarterback, the Owls' inability to wrap up has been a consistent theme since week 1 against Oklahoma, and if they try these arm tackles against the Aggies running backs, it could be a long game for them.
It will be the first time Temple plays Utah State. What can we expect for this matchup?
Well, I think that we can expect a similar matchup to the Coastal Carolina game, honestly. I think the Owls will be able to move the ball offensively regardless of who's under center, and the defense should be able to hold Utah State to under 30 points. But if the Owls turn the ball over twice and they don't force any turnovers on defense, it will be a difficult time for them to get the win at home, as the Aggies are coming off back-to-back games against Power 5 opponents in USC and Utah. So they're going to come on Saturday ready to play.
Well, Jackson, that's all we have at the desk for you today. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
You can catch Jackson on Tuesday with the rest of the crew talking about Utah State and Temple football on Inside the Nest, noon on TUTV. And if you're getting ready to watch this one, here's all you need to know. Game time, 2 p.m. on Saturday. And if you can't make it to the game this weekend, not to worry. We'll have a crew on hand and we'll be giving live updates on our social handles at OwlSports Update.
While it's technically still summer, it won't be long before we're talking basketball. The non-conference schedule has been announced for Temple Hoops. We have OwlSports Update Emily DiNotaris with some dates you might want to circle on your calendar. Hey, Emily.
Thanks, Michael. We are just 6 weeks away from Temple's season opener in this 2024-25 season. And now we've got dates for the non-conference portion of the schedule, with many teams coming from the ACC and A10. Tip-off against Sacred Heart will take place at home on November 4th. Other games to look forward to are Monmouth on November 8th and our first Big 5 game of the season against Drexel November 12th. The Owls will also be back at the Wells Fargo Center for the second annual Big 5 Classic on December 7th. If you remember, Temple lost in the title game last season to St. Joe's. This will be a historic season for Temple, as the Owls are just 7 wins away from number 2,000 in the program history. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Emily DiNotaris. Guys, back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Emily. We are headed into our first break of the day. When we come back, we will talk field hockey and an international goalie in women's soccer.
Or, as she likes to call it, football. OwlSports Update will be back in 90 seconds. Welcome back to OwlSports Update. Now 2-3, Temple Field Hockey has lost its last 3 games on the road. The Owls are met with a challenging schedule as they work on fixing some early season mistakes. It's been an uneven season for Temple Field Hockey. 2 wins to start out the season where they outscored their opponents 13-0, followed by 3 losses where they've been outscored 13-3. Maybe it's not a huge surprise since the Owls are facing an offensively skilled schedule with 4 nationally ranked opponents this season.
Scheduling is super important when we're preparing for Big East. So we intentionally schedule teams that do have a lot of offensive manpower.
Last week, Temple took on 3rd-ranked Virginia. The Cavaliers shut the Owls down 7-0.
Taking the things we learned from the past weekend and just implementing into this next game.
Temple now has 6 of its next 10 games in the Big East. These are the games that count the most.
You want to go against somebody that's actually going to be able to exploit you, show you where your weaknesses are, and be able to actually give information and especially put it on film for the girls to see.
As they continue their season, the team is looking forward to meeting their goals and improving their skills in order to take on the leaders of the Big East, UConn, Liberty, and Old Dominion. The Owls' schedule continues with a game tomorrow against ranked number 16 UConn, then back at home on Sunday against LaSalle. This Friday will be the 22nd meeting between the Owls and the Huskies. Temple has won 3 in a row against UConn, including last year's shutout victory.
Women's soccer was hungry for its first win at home this season with Navy in town. Temple came in with just 1 win on the year in 8 matches. It was a sunny Sunday afternoon at the Temple Sports Complex for this non-conference matchup. To open up the match, both teams took 3 shots in the first 20 minutes. This includes a shot from Navy, which is caught by Owls goalie Tasman Bino, who finished with 5 saves. Both teams shot hot out of the gate, looking for openings to get points across the board. The Owls outshot Navy 17-12. The saving grace for the Owls came from an assist by Carly Steinberg, who tips the ball in for Yao Zhu for her first goal as an Owl. Your final, 1-0.
This was Bino's second shutout of the season. She also has solidified her spot as the starting goalie, playing every minute in goal over the last 4 games. OwlSports update Sarah Winton is live at the Temple Sports Complex to tell us about Bino's journey to Philly. Hi, Sarah.
Yes, Julia. Last year, Tamsin Bino traveled over 3,000 miles from the UK to Temple University, where she's made a huge impact as the backbone of their defense in goal. This comes for a team trying to rebuild after years of struggles trying to get into the win column. Tamsin Bino, Temple's sophomore goalkeeper, has quickly become a standout player for the women's soccer team.
I don't want to concede goals. I hate conceding goals. I'm competitive.
She's originally from St. Helens in the UK, about 4 hours north of London. Bino has international experience, having played for youth teams in Liverpool and Manchester. Tamsin's international experience has proven to be invaluable for the Owls, especially as she leads a young defensive lineup. Her leadership, both in communication and shot-stopping ability, has been key to the team's early progress this season.
Her comfort level on the ball in those situations is what sets her apart from a lot of goalkeepers around the country. I mean, she doesn't get frazzled by pressure, and she makes really good decisions with the ball.
Bino recorded her second collegiate shutout Sunday against Navy, and she currently leads the conference in saves with 51. Bino started 9 games last year, and she started every game so far this year, helping Temple rebuild its program that's already matched last year's win total with 2.
I think we're already headed in the right direction in terms of making this a really positive program and winning games. Obviously, we've won 2 already.
Bino and the Owls have a good chance to grab that 3rd win Sunday against a winless Penn team. It's Temple's final game before its conference opener. After this weekend's game against Penn, the Owls are back on the road and in conference at North Penn. This game will test the Owls' defense. North Texas is averaging almost 2.5 goals per game. Reporting live from the Temple Sports Complex, I'm Sarah Winton. Guys, back to you in TV3 Studio.
Thank you, Sarah. We're headed for our second and last break of today's show.
When we return, OwlSports Updates Anthony Rossioli will join us to discuss how one player turned coach for Temple's volleyball team is making an impact. Be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back to OwlSports Update. I'm Anthony Rossioli. Hallie McCall left Temple a little less than a decade ago as one of the team's top players. Now, 8 years later, she's back working under a new coach but with a new role.
Temple volleyball has a returning face, but Hallie McCall is in a new position.
It's very surreal and fun to be back in the gym, but now in a different role. So it's been an adjustment, but it's been a lot of fun and really cool to be back with the program.
Coach McCall then got the call to travel back down to North Broad to coach on the same court that she played on just 8 years ago. McCalla is the new graduate assistant coach. She graduated in 2016, but is still making an impact on the program and its players.
It's really helpful to just have someone that can relate to us. I mean, she wasn't here too long ago, so she knows how a lot of it works and how a lot of the things are still similar and knows what we're going through.
The NCAA added a position about a year and a half ago, and so it made this position that we have as a GA into a coaching position. And so it kind of fills our coaching staff out and gives us another voice in the gym. It gives us another person to help us manage the whole program, and so it's a huge, huge benefit for us to be able to have her here in this role.
Even though it has been long since McCalla played, she is spending time learning some of the new rules to the game. And she's excited about the Owls fighting for a spot in the conference postseason tournament, as there is no such thing when she played. McCalla and the Owls are back at it this weekend with a short drive to Villanova for the Wildcat Challenge. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Anthony Rossioli. Back to you guys at the desk.
Now let's take a look at the events on this weekend calendar. Cross country kicks off the weekend with the Mainline Invitational. Then, as mentioned, field hockey heads to Yukon on Friday, then back home to face LaSalle on Sunday. Volleyball heads to the Wildcat Challenge at Villanova. One schedule change, that volleyball match on Saturday versus St. Peter's has been postponed. No makeup date has been set. Men's soccer plays Charlotte on Saturday with our executive producer and professor, Matt Fine, on the call for ESPN+. Then women's soccer wraps up the weekend, taking on Penn.
Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for our show today. In 1 week, you can catch Natalie Caranda and Gabriel Linnington live at noon talking the latest in OwlSports. You can also see the Sports Brief on social media at OwlSports Update on Mondays and Inside the Nest Live on Tuesdays talking the latest in Temple football with Hayden Bandel and Sam Cavone.
On behalf of all of us at TV Studio 3, I'm Julia Green. He's Michael Mirville. Thank you for watching.